All right, I think it's time to get this talk started. First of all, thank you for coming at such a late hour to listen to me. I really appreciate it. My name is Koen Ayers. I work for Red Hat. For the past 11 years, I've been working at JBoss, doing all kinds of stuff, but mostly around tooling. This is a tools in action talk, so we will let the tool do some actions. The tool in question will be JBoss Forge, and I will show you how you can use a CLI command line interface and or basically create a tool for something and use it at the command line and at the same time deploy it into an IDE where it will show up as a wizard. Good. A little bit about the agenda. I will do a very quick introduction to Forge, where it comes from. Then I'll show you some of the basic feature or some of the features that come by default in a vanilla deployment of Forge, and we will do a simple CRUD operation or CRUD application rather, starting from a database, and then we will do some development of new Forge commands, and I will try to show you how you can deploy them into the major IDEs. Good. Where does Forge come from? Forge comes from inherits from a little tool that was called SeamGen. I don't know if any first of all, people have used Forge already. Forge 1. No? Nobody? Cool. So yeah, SeamGen was a tool that tried to make it simpler for application developers to get started with JSF and JPA, Java Persistent Architecture, hence the name Seam. But it was a technology that was not something CDI-like, let's say, because CDI comes out of the CDI standard is an evolvement of the Seam project. And so when Java EE came around with CDI and the new versions of the JSF and the JPA standards, we needed something like SeamGen to get people started, because you can see this is a picture that I took from the Oracle website, the Java EE page of the Oracle website some years ago, actually. And all these boxes that are on the screen are frameworks that, as a newbie, if you want to get started with this, and you have to read all the specs or read through all manuals or all the getting started for all these things, then you have a lot of work. So the tool Forge initially aimed to get you started with this easier, in a more easy way, but we were able to take it way more, or to the next level, let's say, and allow people to develop their own tools for their own frameworks or for tedious tasks that you might have, and just use the same mechanism. So, yeah. Hence Forge. I will switch to a demo mode because I was telling you that I was going to let the tool talk. So there is Forge in multiple variations. First of all, you have, I don't know if this is visible. You have Forge at the command line, so you can type commands there, and then it will show you which version of Forge this is. You can have commands like new project, for instance. So you will type the initial letters of the command, hit the tab, and it will complete project new. If I hit tab again, you have the options of what the information I need. So I can fill out a name, right? And then, okay, there is already a test project, test 2. So it will create a test 2 project and position itself at this project. Some of the normal command line commands are available. You can see this is created in this directory. It has a POM XML, so it's has a Maven layout with a source directory and so on. Okay, So by default, Forge will use Maven as a build system. Now, this is the command line tool. I was bragging already that you could use it in IDEs. Well, you can use it actually as of Forge 2. Recently, you can use it in the IDE of your choice. We have Forge plugins for NetBeans, for IntelliJ, and for Eclipse, which comes in the JBoss Developer Studio, or in the JBoss tools. If you install that one, it's in that one as well. Let me first just show you in NetBeans. You have this search box here. So if you would want to create a new project in NetBeans, you would also type PR, and then it would open up all the options that you have, and there is project new in JBoss Forge. You hit tab, it gives you a wizard. Yeah, you can create a project, finish. It will create a project here, right? And so on. Same thing for IntelliJ. IntelliJ is a bit more. Yeah, you have to know. I mean, it's documented, of course, on the website, but you have to hit Alt Command 4 or Alt Control 4, and then it opens like a list box with all the possible options: project new, test. Okay, test 2 again. I'm going to open it in this window. And again, it opens a POM file. So you see a standard POM file and so on, right? I will switch to JBoss Developer Studio. That's the thing that I work on, so and that I know best. And I will need a few thingies that are not particularly linked to Forge to make it a bit more spectacular. So this is developed. Who is using Eclipse, by the way? Yeah, most of you. IntelliJ? No, most of you use IntelliJ. Okay. NetBeans? Okay. Yeah, that's the normal mix I would have expected. Anyway, so I'm an Eclipse user. I'm sorry about that. If using Forge here would be in Eclipse on a Mac or on a normal machine, you would hit Command 4 or Control 4, and then something similar would happen as in the IntelliJ version. There is a pop-up that comes up, and you can create a new project. Yeah, here I will create a project with the name Sakila. Yeah, why Sakila? Well, there is here I have a database running, an H2 database that is called Sakila, which contains already data. I can connect to it to show you there is something in it. Connect. Okay, I don't know. Schemas, public tables. There's a film table. Show some data there. Yeah, so. Well, this thing doesn't work. Okay. So there is some data in the table. I will use this database to create a CRUD application using Forge. And well, let's just do this. So the CRUD application will use the JPA. We'll use a Java. It's going to be Java EE based. It will use JPA and JSF as a visual, the visualization technology. You can also use, as we will see, Angular and generate REST endpoints and stuff like that. But since I'm using JPA, I first need to set it up. JPA, so JPA setup here. It presents me with a wizard with some pre-filled choices. I can use, for instance, JPA version 2.1. I will use Wildfly, because you can see here I have a Wildfly running in my environment, so I will just deploy the application that is generated on this Wildfly to show you that it's actually working. The persistence unit name, Sakila persistence, so I will accept all the defaults here, and then it will create a persistence.xml file. It uses the JTA data source java.jb, that's by default. Data sources / example ds, which is deployed by default on Wildfly. But I have one that is already deployed here. It's called Sakila data source. And it basically uses the name Sakila there and uses the connection URL that points to the running database that is running in the background. Okay? Just for your information, I will change this information into Sakila, and I will also use the HBM to DDL strategy will be update, because I want to avoid when I deploy the application that the database will be erased or dropped and recreated, which is the default behavior, right? Of course, I have this running database. I want to show you the things with the data in it. Right. So now everything is set for my generation of entities. I have JPA set up, and I can generate entities from tables, right? So let's just do that. It asks me, okay, in which package do I have to generate? Which connection profile should I use? I will use the Sakila connection profile, which is the one that I just showed you to connect to the database in Eclipse. There's no password. When I hit the next button, it looks into the database, finds all the tables, presents me for which tables do you want entities generated. I want all of them. And it gives me a nice message there that the entities have been generated for this database. Okay, JPA is done. Now we want the user interface. Similarly, we have a scaffold operation. Scaffold generate, I can set it up first, but if it's not set up, generate will invoke the setup first. So I will scaffold generate. It asks me which scaffold type do you want to use. This is actually pluggable. You can add your own scaffold types. The ones that are available by default are, so before I forget, this is just plain vanilla Forge. Nothing is installed other than the real installment that comes from the website. So I have Forge and AngularJS as the possibilities, Faces and AngularJS as the possibilities. It asks me which version of CDI, because it will enable CDI, it will enable EJBs, it will enable servlets, it will enable JSF behind the scenes, right? Hitting next, it's going to look into my code base, see, okay, these are all the entities that are available. For which entities do you want to, do you have a JSF user interface? Well, again, we'll select them all. Hit finish. And if everything goes well, there is a lot of things. So it gives messages for all the things that have been installed. And if I'm going to look here in my deployed resources, you see that there is, for all these entities, you have facelets that have been generated to do the CRUD operations. Okay, let's see if it works. I take this application, drag it onto the Wildfly server. It starts deploying there. And I can just go to TTP, localhost 8080 Sakila. All right, here it is. So this is my application by default. This template you can change, and you can customize it. If I go to the film entity, you see that it's populated with the entities that are in the database. Okay, so this was how to build a CRUD application for a database in, 9 minutes? That's pretty cool. Now, I promised you to, so if you want to do this on the command line, it's the same thing, right? It's just, you do here JPA setup. It will ask you for the JPA version or the container that you want to use and so on. Yeah, and it will suggest So let's assume that we want to have the container. It will suggest all the containers that are supported just by hitting tab, right? Same thing if you go to another IDE, the wizards will just have the native look and feel of NetBeans or IntelliJ. Cool. So now I want to extend Forge, right? I want to create my own add-on, because in a plugin in the Forge terminology is called an add-on. This add-on will give you some commands, the commands that you implement, that will do stuff for you as you wish. So one of the things I was doing for lately was doing some work for Hibernate Search. I don't know who knows of Hibernate Search. Yeah. Okay. Hibernate Search is actually a framework. It's built on top of Hibernate, of course, and it can be used to index entities, right? Index entities. Index the information of entities into a searchable index with full text search, right? So of course, if you don't know anything about it and you want to get started with it, that's what I did. I want to get started with it. What do? You go to the manual, or you go to Google and you type some search string, and it finds you the tutorial, and okay, which POM file do I need, and which are the basic artifacts that I need, and how do I properly index it, and so on. Okay, it turns out, of course, like most things in the Java world, in the Maven Java world, that you need a POM dependency, and that there are a number of annotations available that you can use on your code. Okay, so let's try and do quickly a little. I mean, we have to be quick. We only have 12 minutes anymore. But let's try and build some commands that we can use with Hibernate Search. The first thing is, just like I did with the Sakila project, I have to create a new project. Okay, project new. We'll call it search. And instead of the project type, instead of building a Java web application, I will use the Forge add-on, right? Okay, Forge add-on, top-level package, org, JBoss Forge add-on, Hibernate Search, for instance. Oh. The beach ball, never good sign. Search, okay. I will accept all the defaults. It creates a project, and it looks like just a normal Java Maven Java project. There are some particularities here. There is a beans.xml file. So the programming model that you use for Forge add-ons is CDI, yeah, which offers a lot of cool stuff. Once you have that, you can create a new command by, again, using Forge. New UI command, right? I will have a UI command that allows me to set up Hibernate Search for my project. Okay. So I will create a setup search command or something like that. Well, I've called it search setup command. Let's do that. Here I can use like search setup, yeah, something that shows up in the wizard. I can add categories like Hibernate Search. Okay, and hit finish. And then I will have a simple command available that I already can deploy. Yeah, I can actually put myself on the search project and say build and install an add-on. Okay, finish. It has built and installed this add-on, and I can, if I now hit this thing again, I have Hibernate Search setup available. Yeah, if I click it, it will say command search setup successfully executed. Of course, there is nothing in it, right? Now, to make this somewhat more interesting, I need to execute this, for instance. I will just go very quickly. So, of course, to use Forge, you will have to learn some of the APIs that Forge offers to you, right? So, in the Maven world, you have dependencies. In Forge, we have something called facets that you add on projects that enable certain capabilities on projects. So those things, yeah, that's something that you will need to dig into. There's a lot of examples available in the main Forge code base that will help you along the way. But of course, yeah, I mean, over here I can just show you some of the things that are available. So dependency. Did I use the correct one? Yeah. Dependency is dependency builder creates. We will create a dependency on org Hibernate. Set artifact ID Hibernate Search ORM. Set version. I will hard code everything here. Of course, in the proper implementation, this would have to be something that a user can choose. And set scope type provided. Okay. And then I need to install this dependency, and I will show you how cool CDI can be. So I will inject something called a dependency installer. Dependency installer. And just use that one here. Installer. Install. Okay, I hit a problem. Because this thing asks me, oh, I need a project to install this dependency on. Yeah. Of course, there is nothing. I showed you earlier when I had deployed it and ran the command. There was no project selected. Yeah. So I need to make sure that there is a project selected. Otherwise, this command shouldn't run. Right. I can do that by changing this one in an abstract project command. And then I will need to implement two additional methods. Get project factory, which is actually very simple. I will just inject that one. Project factory. And then is project required, return true. Okay. Because this is now an abstract project command, I have other functionality that has become available, and one of that is get selected project. Okay. So Forge offers that out of the box, get selected project. I will use the context, the same context parameter that was there, and I will install the dependency that I have created in the line earlier. Okay? So when this is done, I can, again, build and install the add-on. Okay? Go here, nothing is selected. There is no Hibernate Search category available. If I select the Sakila project, let me open the POM file, otherwise maybe you'd think that I'm cheating. So in the POM file, there is nothing that references Hibernate Search, right? So now I have the Sakila project. There is the Hibernate Search setup is available. And it has added the dependency on Hibernate Search there, right? Okay, so 5 more minutes. Let me do something else. I will import, because there is all kinds of other things that I can show you, but let me import the completed one. Okay. All right, let me just delete this one, because it complains that there is a thing with the same name already. Okay. Finish. So let's just quickly run through the other command that I have created here, which is an index entity command. This one has, so the previous command that I showed you didn't have user interface, right? It just installed the dependency. Yeah, you would have, maybe you would want some user interface, like to select the proper version of Hibernate Search and so on. This one is, this command, index entity command, will actually index the entity or ask you which entity to index. And you have a number of user interface components available. So UI select one, which selects a Java class source. UI select many, which selects the fields of the Java class source. There is, in the initialize UI method, you will basically initialize all these UI components. Yeah? So fill entity, for instance, will derive the selected project from the context and get the JPA facet. The JPA facet is the one that enables all the JPA operations on this project. So JPA facet has a method get all entities. So it just inspects the code in your project, retrieves all the entities, and I can set the value choices, the collection that is returned. I can use that to set it as the object of the entity user interface object. Okay, similar for the fields. Yeah, so this is actually, if you look at this class, it's not a lot of code. Most of them, or some of it, is the same as you already saw. A little bit of boilerplate. Of course, there is the execute method that will add the annotations to the Java source. Right? You see Java class source add annotation, field add annotation, and so on. And when we use this one, so let me just build and deploy this guy. So, and I select this project, I have the index entity operation available. Right? If the Hibernate Search wouldn't be set up on this project, I wouldn't have this option even. Yeah? Okay? And then when I select this, I have a wizard, and there is a drop-down box which offers me all the entities of the project. I can select film, for instance, and it will give me the choice of all the fields, all the properties of film. I can, for instance, use title and description, and hit finish, and then go and look at the Java resources there, in film, and I can see it has produced the index annotation, it has produced field annotations on title and on description, right? So it's pretty easy to create support for your own project. I don't have time anymore. Maybe after the presentation, you can come and I can show you that it also works on the other, on the command line and on the other IDEs. But since I have only half a minute left, let me come to some conclusions. So Forge will get you started quickly on Java EE and other frameworks for which support has been created. It hides the gory details. You don't have to think about persistence.xml configuration and stuff like that. It's extremely extensible, and it runs in IDEs and as CLI commands. I don't know if I can still, if I still have time for some questions, but if there are any, yeah.
So the title of this meeting says that we have the CLI and IDE for the private one.
Yes.
For the private one, but when you wrote this command, I saw that the injected beans, injected classes names of those beans, the name suggested that those were the classes related to UI. So does it mean that we need to create two classes, one for
No,
UI?
no. So
the UI prefix does not mean that this is the...
No, the UI, so the UI, yeah, okay, I know, I understand your question now. So the question is that when I created the command, you had like UI select one, yeah? So UI select one will also be used on the command line and will offer you a choice of one item out of a list on the command line, yep. So it's a UI abstraction, the CLI being one of the implementations of the UI, right? Yep.
How much does this like to Java EE? So
Not. It's, I mean, initially it was, the purpose was to make it easier to get started with Java EE, but we have add-ons for Spring and for other frameworks, so it's not, there is nothing proprietary in it. Except if you write add-ons itself, then there is some Forge things that are proper to Forge, evidently. But if you create a project with IntelliJ without using Forge, you can still use Forge on that project. Yeah, there is nothing proprietary information or something, hidden files or other stuff, right? Yes. So I can, since it's the last presentation, take the liberty of showing it to you. So here, if you see this thing here, let me go there. So I could use like add-on build and install here, right? It's actually the same thing that I just used earlier. Project root, yeah, okay, I will use, what was it again? Users, demo, Krakow, workspace, search complete. It invokes a Maven build on this project, and it will just install it. And now, when I go into the project that I have test, I don't know if test has a add-on. What was the command again? No. Was it search? Search setup, yeah, there it is. So search setup is available. So now it will, on the test project in which I am right now, will install the. So it works out of the IDE as well. Yes.
I understand that the Forge can be installed from the P2 repository on Eclipse, but can my add-ons also be installed from the P2 repository, especially deployed in an easy way?
No. Well, yeah, I mean, they can be bundled into a plugin, and then that plugin can be used from a P2. There is actually, we have, so the question is, can Forge add-ons be installed from a P2 repository, an Eclipse P2 repository, just like normal Eclipse plugins? And it can be done, but it doesn't come out of the box. Yeah. So there is, we have a project called, what's the name again? The name escapes me, but it's about migration from one JBoss EAP to another. And those guys have made, they are, which one? Windup, exactly. Okay, Windup project these guys have used are using Forge very, very intensively, and they have done this type of thing, so support in a P2 repository. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, thanks a lot for joining me, and I would say let's go and drink a beer.